Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Now if you've clicked on this video, I'm assuming you really want a leopard gecko, but your parents aren't so keen. So firstly, you're in the right place. I literally have hundreds of videos all about leopard geckos, so if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And I also have an interactive care guide in the form of an ebook that you can download over on leopardgeckomerch.com. But let's actually look at ways to convince your parents to let you have a leopard gecko. If you didn't know, I got my first leopard gecko when I was 13. Initially I wanted one when I was 10, but my parents said I had to do my research and save up my money. And being a 10-year-old, that took a while. Now, one major point I really want you to keep in mind throughout this video is ultimately we really need your parents to be on board. At the end of the day, it is their house, and although this is your pet, they are the adults in the situation, so they should be overlooking what you're doing to make sure the animal is being cared for. And if you can't afford food or the vets, then they'll have to pay for it. I do get quite a few messages where I have distraught young leopard gecko owners who have sick geckos, and they've told their parents beforehand that leopard geckos rarely get sick, they won't have to go to the vets. But when that time comes and something happens and they need to take them to the vets, the parents refuse and they are literally left with a dying pet. So it's very important that you make sure your parents are 100% on board and are aware that things can sometimes go wrong and your gecko may need to see an exotic vet, and they aren't always cheap. So keep that in mind throughout this video. We don't want to trick them into getting you a gecko, we want to be really honest. So the first tip I can give you is try to earn some money if you can. Now of course, enclosures, equipment, food, the gecko itself, they aren't always cheap. And if you can get yourself a little job, say a paper round, I don't know the labour laws in your country, what you can or can't do at certain ages, but if you can have a way of earning some money, maybe doing chores, whatever it may be, that shows your parents that you're really dedicated to this and you are going to try to earn and save up money to go towards this, then that's a good start. Obviously you'll be paying for food and you'll need supplements and so on. For me, because this was between the age of 10 and 13, I really just had to rely on saving birthday and Christmas money for a few years. But after that, once I could get a paper round, I did contribute towards food. Another thing you can do is, of course, lots and lots of research. Now, sometimes I'll get people comment saying, I've done tons of research over the last week and now I really want a leopard gecko. But a quick flick for a book or watching a few care guides online really won't prepare you fully for a reptile. So just take your time, look into every topic, look at setup, heating, lighting, supplements, diet, handling, you name it. It may seem a little overwhelming at first, there's a lot to take in. When you actually look into it, you want to make sure the heating's right, you want to make sure if you're going to provide a UV lamp that you get the right one, are the supplements correct. It can be a lot, and that's why saying you've done research for the last week and now you definitely want a leopard gecko is a bit too soon, just because there's quite a lot to take in. So even if this takes, you know, a few weeks, a few months, or in my case a few years researching an animal, that's a good thing, because if you find yourself getting a bit bored and thinking after a few weeks or a few months, I'm not really that interested in this animal anymore, then that's probably a good thing. You know, because leopard geckos can live over 20 years. So it is good to take your time and really do your research before getting the animal and kind of figuring out if this is definitely the pet for you. Now, as I said, leopard geckos can live for 20 years or more, so they are a big commitment. So one thing that may concern your parents is that you might want to go to college or university in the future, and who's going to look after the gecko then? It's very common for people to get into reptiles at like age 11, 12, 13. And then once they hit about 18, they want to go off to uni and the reptiles need rehoming. Now, of course, go to college, university, get your education. If that's what you want to do, go do it. Don't, you know, say I'm going to buy a reptile and not go to university. Leopard geckos are always going to be here, so there is no rush into getting one. Only, you know, to potentially end up rehoming it a few years later because you wanted to go to uni. So if you know this will be the case and that's what you have planned, if your parents are on board still with you getting a reptile, they love the gecko as much as you do, they know how to care for it, and are willing to care for it when you're away, then perfect. But if this is something that's not going to work out, it's probably not too fair on the reptile to buy it, to only have it for a few years, and then move it on to a new home. Another thing your parents may be concerned about, and this is something for you to consider also, is are you going to get bored of this pet? Now obviously we can't predict the future, but if you have a history of being bought pets and then after a few months or so you're kind of like, you don't really interact with them, you don't really find them that interesting, then your parents may look at this and think, are they really going to be caring for this gecko for years? Because I have to say, although I obviously absolutely love leopard geckos, they aren't always the most active and entertaining of reptiles. So you probably won't see them much during the day, they'll just be sleeping. And the most interaction you'll have is in the evening whilst you're handling and feeding them. And of course, if you have a tank nearby, they'll probably come out and peep and look at you like in the evening. It's quite cute. But just keep that in mind, because they aren't going to be that fully entertaining pet that wants to interact with you all the time. Now, if your parents think reptiles and their food are gross and there is absolutely no changing their mind on that, that can be tricky. What I will say is if you can pop to a pet shop or a reptile shop or expo and see if they'll let you and your parents hold a leopard gecko, then that may change their mind, as leopard geckos are adorable. However, if they're still adamant on not having live feeder insects in the house, then that's not really something that will work with a leopard gecko. You might be able to get away with it if you have a crested gecko, and if you are debating between the two which one would be better for you, I do have a video where I compare the two, but definitely don't get a leopard gecko if your parents won't let you have live feeder insects in the house. And finally, one last thing you can do is put together a bit of a presentation. So a PowerPoint, Google Slides kind of presentation where you go through the gecko's care, what things you'll need to buy, what the tank will look like, how much room that tank will take up, heating, lighting, what you can feed the gecko, what supplements you need, a cleaning schedule, what exotic vets are near you in the area in case you need to see one, is there insurance you would want to get, what is your plan if you're going to go on vacation or university. Basically this will show them that you have thought of everything, you have done your research on the animal, you are dedicated and passionate about it, and you've also thought all the big things through. You could also say how you are planning on making a little bit of money so you can put towards their food or towards their setup. And of course, as I said, this whole channel has tons of videos. They're all split into playlists, so it should be easy to find. And I also have that ebook, which literally goes through everything. I have videos such as all the things you need to buy for your leopard gecko, feeding and supplementing schedules, how to set up tanks, and so on and so forth. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you are serious about getting a leopard gecko. And if it helps, share this channel with your family. Maybe one of them will actually fall in love with leopard geckos too, and you can really bond over that. But as I said, ultimately your parents need to be 100% about this. No cutting corners, no lying to your parents about the realities of owning a reptile. They may even say at the moment you can't have one, it's just not the right time, but in the future you'll be able to, and that's fine. You know, this gives you more time to do more research, get prepared, and trust me, when you finally get that gecko, it will be awesome. I waited 3 years, you can too. And you know what, you may even find in a few years time you think, actually I'm not really that interested anymore, and you think that was a lucky escape. So, you know, hopefully this video has helped. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and all my social media links will be below too. But yeah, I hope this helped. Thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.